Good evening. This video will cover the last part of our corporate accounting discussion series, and we will be discussing on retained earnings. Now, before I start, let me check first our internet speed because the last time that I recorded, it got so problematic, and it's shown on the video that I uploaded that there were some buffer parts, and it would be unfair to you guys if that would continue. So that's why I'm trying to check my internet speed first before I continue. So while waiting on that, again, okay, so it's done. I think our internet speed is okay. So before I start, let me turn off muna my camera para di mag-ilag ang signal. Okay, so let's start. So again, today for this video, we'll be talking about retained earnings or corporation operations and retained earnings. Now, so for corporation operations, of course, what we've been discussing is stock corporations, which are established for profit. So, what is your journal entry or pro forma journal entry? Pro forma journal entry when a profit is recognized, no? So the pro forma journal entry for that would be if it's a profit, so debit to income and expense summary account. Now, your income and expense summary account summarizes all of your income or revenue and expenses for the period. Now, to where do you credit this income and expense summary account? Remember that in your partnership corporation, income and some expense summary account, when there is a profit, is debited and it's credited to partnership capital, right? Now, in corporation, we have share capital, right? Ordinary share capital and preference share capital. Do we credit that? Do we credit our profit to that? No. Again, I hope that you have recalled in our first few videos of the series that the profits and losses of the company is accumulated on the retained earnings. Okay. So debit and then credit. So if there is a loss, then for marginal entry, profit. So if there is a loss, it's just an inverse of that. So if there is a loss, retained earnings will be debited because it entails a decrease. Okay? Profit increases your retained earnings while losses decreases it. So with that, you debit the retained earnings and you credit the income and expense summary account. So we do here XXX and then debit and credit. Okay, now let's go to our retained earnings. Retained earnings. Again, as defined in our part 1, retained earnings is, asan ba yun? Sa part 1 ba yun? O sa part 2 na yun? Is on the part 2. There we go. Okay, so retained earnings. This represents the cumulative earnings and losses, dividends, and prior period adjustments for a corporation. So with that definition, these are the things that affects our retained earnings. Accumulated profits and losses over the past years. Okay, number 2 is dividend distribution. And then number 3 is correction of errors in the records of the past years. 4 is other adjustments affecting shareholders, capital accounts. Okay. So for the first three, for number 3 and number 4, we will no longer be discussing this one. And for the accumulated profits and losses for the past years, this is just your entry for that. So that would mean that we will be concentrating on our dividend distribution. Okay? So, but before we go there, yeah. So, let's go directly to our dividend distribution. So, the dividends is the distribution of free earnings or profits to the shareholders. To the shareholders. Okay, so this is the distribution of free earnings or profits to the shareholders. If you could remember, for partnership, it's what we call the profit sharing. But for corporation, it's called dividends. So it's a distribution of their earnings or of their earnings for the year. Okay, so but it's not necessarily na every year kana ay dividends, because there may be instances wherein ang profit sa company is dili nila i-distribute to shareholders, but ilang ibalik sa company for expansion purposes or for any other purposes that they may see fit. Now, the declaration of dividends, there are three important dates that we should take note. So, three important dates for accounting purposes. The first one is the date of declaration. Second one is the date of record. The third one would be the date of payment. Okay. So to further tawag nito, to give you a clear picture of how these days should be identified. Let me give you an example. So board resolution number 555 2019. Okay. Resolved as it is hereby resolved to declare and pay cash dividends of 2 pesos per share to shareholders of record on January 21, 2020, payable on February mm, February 20, 2016. Okay. So, and then napacheck ko na resolved further as is hereby resolved. Uh, mm, di na. So, ano lang. So, this is the adopted during the regular meeting of the board of directors, directors on December 21, 2019 at the head office, Bonifacio Street, Davao City. Okay. So here, the date of declaration of dividends will be the date na kung kanus siya giaprubahan. So, our date of declaration is, of course, kung kanus sa giaprubahan, December 21, 2019. And then our date of record is meaning kadili man gud siya necessary guys nga kung kana sa kung kinsa ang mga pangalan or kung kinsa ang mga nakapanag-iya adtong December 31 mo natin maka-receive sa dividends. No. When we say ang kanang kung kinsa maka-receive sa dividends on the date of declaration, katuni silang mga tao sa date of record. So, kading date of record kay hindi ba ingon siya resolved as it is hereby resolved to declare and pay cash dividends of 2 pesos per share to shareholders of record on January 21, 2020. So meaning kung kinsa man tong recorded na owners sa shares on January 21, 2020, sila to ang maka-receive sa dividends. And then kanos aman siya bayaran dayon. So muna siya ato ang date of payment. So payable na kuno siya on February 20, 2016. Okay? So okay. Tapos okay, and then okay, sige. Yeah. Okay. And then payment. Okay. So now unsa man ang ato ang entry on the date of kanang declaration. So date of declaration. Imong pro forma entry would be our pro forma entry would be mag-debit tayo ng retained earnings. And then mag-credit ta ng dividends payable. Okay? And then XXX. Unsa ba itong pro forma entry on the date of record? So, no entry. Wala kay entry for that, okay? Ang imong next entry dayon is would be on the date of payment. So, again, for our dividends naman nga itong i-discuss, there are a lot of types of dividends. I will tell you that later. Pero we will only be covering dividends paid out with cash. So, date of payment, ang atong paandayon is mawala ato ang dividends payable and then makuhaan ng atong cash. Okay. Pero kung dili cash imong gibayad, then kato imong ibutang ng cash property, liability, or share capital. Kung shares imong gihatag. Pero again, we will only be covering dividends nga paid with cash. Okay? So before we go there are two major classes of dividends. So this is dividends out of capital, and then dividends out of earnings. Okay. Sir, di ba ingon ka, sir, nga dili pwede ihimo ang dividends ng capital? Yes, dili gina siya pwede. Pwede lang ni siya kung mining industry ka. Okay, so that's why we will not be covering this anymore. We will be covering only the dividends out of earnings, which is dividends out of earnings, which is it can be paid out with cash, with non-cash property, with liability, or with a share capital. So more shares or with shares or share capital naman. Okay. But again, as what I have said, we will only be covering katong dividends out of earnings paid out with cash. So, ang ato na yung kuan. So, declaration of cash dividends may either be as a percentage of the par value. Usually, mo ni siya ang mahitabo sa imong preference shares. Usually. And then number 2 is as an amount per share. And muna siya ang mahitabo usually sa ordinary shares. Pero pwede po siya, no, nga ang dividends ni preference shares is naka per amount per share o pwede po nga ang kanang for ang dividend ni ordinary shares is naka percentage. So, let's start okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sige. Now, so kinsa man ang entitled to receive what shares? Shares entitled to receive dividends. So, what are the shares kayo entitled to receive dividends? Ang outstanding shares o ang subscribe par value shares. Par value shares. Sir, kana si subscribe par value shares, sir, ka dili pa man siya fully paid, sir. Okay? So, bala pag dili siya fully paid, ang ihatag sa subscribe par value shares will be katugyapong whole nga dividend. Pero instead nga ihatag sa iya ang iyang dividend share, ibayad to sa iyang kulang sa iyahang subscription. Kung naay sobra, man din to iyaha. Okay? So, kung kinsa man ang shares not entitled to receive. So that includes our treasury shares. Wala pa ilabot ang ato ang malamang ang issue wala siya labot, di ba? And then ang ato apong subscribe no par value shares, no par value. But don't worry because in all of our quizzes and all of our problems naman, everything is katong with par value. Okay? So, ayun. Wait lang ha. Let me find an example, no? Mhm. Okay. 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 And then, sige. So, let's just say wait. Wait. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, sige. Let's go with this. So, assuming nga ano to, example dali. Ito. Sige. So, let's say nga kani siya, pero let's modify this one a bit. Okay? The result of it is by resolved to declare and pay cash dividends of 2 pesos per share to shareholders of record, 2 pesos per share to ordinary shareholders, and 8% to preference shareholders. 8% to preference of record on January 1, okay. Tapos, kanina ng assumption. Assume that, sikin sa man siya. Okay, so assume that the company na as the company has 20,000 okay. So assume that the company has or naman, sige. Assume that the company has 10,000 issued shares, 900 treasury shares, and 1,000 subscribed shares on the date of declaration. Okay, sige. So, unsa man imong journal entry sa ani, no? So, first is, of course, on the date of declaration, pila iyahang, sige, wait lang. 10,000 issued shares, 10,000 issued ordinary shares, Mhm. Treasury shares, ordinary. Or ano na lang, assume that the company has the following. Following on the date of declaration. Okay? So, or mas nice kung kanino. Wait. Assume that throughout the year, the following share capital transactions occurred. So this will just help us no on determining kung pila ang ending balance sa ato ang kanang preference share na pila ang ending number sa ato ang preference shares ug sa ato ang what do you call this ordinary shares. So bato na lang January 1 issued 10,000 ordinary shares. Tapos on February 28, 1,000 ordinary shares were subscribed. Tapos March 15, naadayon siya 900 ordinary shares. shares were reacquired. And then on June 30, 5,000 preference shares were issued. Shares were issued, and then on August 2, okay, 200 preference shares were subscribed. And then November 30 na dayon tay 500 preference shares were acquired. Preference shares were reacquired. Okay. So now we'll have to before ta makabalo no kung pila ang ato ang liability, we'll have to know first kung pila ang number of shares pila ang outstanding number of shares kay di ba ingon siya ang the shares that are eligible or kanang pwede ra magdawat sa dividends is ang outstanding o ang kanang subscribed na share capital na with par value. So assuming nga na ni par value tanan, okay? So naatay ordinary and then naatay preference. Okay? So on January 1, naaman daw kunoy ay good ay pila ang imong on January 1 na ay 10,000 issue, tapos Feb 28 additional din 1,000 na subscribe, tapos on March 15 900 kay treasury. So dili atong tanggalon si treasury sa iyahang kanang allowed nga maka-receive sa dividends kay again ang pwede na maka-receive is si issued ay outstanding which is kaning 10,000 minus 900 and then ang imuhang kaning subscribed shares. Okay? So, sa pamailain, June 30, reference kay 5,000 issue, August 2, kay na ay 200 na subscribe, and then atay November 30, na atay negative 500. Okay? So, the total number of shares na entitled for dividends is this one. Okay? So, unsa may other way nato nga para unsa may other way nato para ma-determine nato kung sakto ba ning giingon nga si outstanding shares lang o si subscribed par value shares ang allowed or kanang entitled to receive a dividend. Now, if you can recall sa ato ang part 2 sa discussion na ato diri nga ang outstanding share capital nga formula is this one. Okay? So, outstanding share capital, let's go here. Outstanding share capital, this is ordinary. And then, na-align tayo preference. Okay? Pero kati kanita, kanang wala na nato ni kikabalo naman ta nga kanang kung pila ang atong kung pila ang issued share. So no need na tunod katong pila ang authorized, kung pila ang unissued. Okay, so kabalo naman sa issued na shares. So we know that this is 10,000 for ordinary. Atong treasury shares is 900 and this is minus kay less gali ang giingon. So meaning our issued and outstanding is 9,100 for ordinary shares and for preference it's 5,000 and then less of 500. Okay? And then, di ba, ato nang idugang si subscribe share capital. So, pila ang subscribe na ordinary? It's 1,000. Narao, nata ni siya. Yun siya, ordinary shares will subscribe. And then for preference, it's 200, this one. Okay? So, meaning, this is minus. Okay, treasury gali ka. Okay. So, meaning, ang atwada yung total number of shares nga nga entitled to dividend. For ordinary, it's 10,100 and for preference shares is 4,700 which is equal sa ato ang nakuha diri. Okay? And since we know nga kanang uh, uh, so ato din ibutang diri nga uh, also note that the par value of both of ordinary shares is 8 pesos and 5 pesos for preference shares. Okay. So, okay. So with that, 'di ba, ang kuanda ko no, so pila man ato ang total liability. So, if you can remember kanang ang ingon niya diri is ang ihatag kang ordinary shares is 2 pesos per share. So 2 pesos per share man, so times magbutang ta diri og times 2 ay 2. Okay? So meaning diri kanang dividend per share. Okay? So, 2 out HBO. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, i-times na to ang kanisya sa iyahang dividend per share na 2 pesos. Muna siya ang ato ang dividend liability o dividend payable para kang ordinary shares. Pila man ang kang preference shares, di ba? Ingon siya, ang preference shares ko no is 8% of 8% of and 8% to preference shareholders. Now again, if you can remember kaning percentage na usually kang preference shareholders is percentage of par value. So meaning ang par value na yang ihatag kang kang ni preference shares is equal to 8% of 5 pesos. Kaya 5 pesos man ang par ni preference shares. Okay? So meaning, ang preference shares nga ihatag is sila to 8%, 8%, 2% of 5 pesos katuyahang par value ni preference shares. While ang kang ordinary shares kay giingon naman niya nga 2 pesos per share, so no need na to multiply kay ingon naman siya nga per share na siya. So with that, kung 0.4 ato din i-multiply ni this is per share no? Oo. Okay. So times this one. 1,880. Or you can do it this way, no? So, pila ang total nga par value ni preference share? So, equals 4,700. I-multiply ni mo na siya og 5. Kaya tag 5 ba yan si preference shares? Remember? And then, pila na kuno ang percentage of par? 8%. So, pila man ang iyahang outage border o. Pila man ang imuhang dividends nga ihatag dapat kang preference share. So, iyang total nga par value, i-multiply nimo sa iyahang percentage. And still, you will get 1,880. So, sa ato ang sa date of declaration, atong entry dayon ana would be retained earnings. Okay. Wait a minute. Yeah. So, retained earnings, ila to ang kang ordinary, 200, and then dividends payable. 2,200. And then, okay, isa ka retain, earnings, dividends, payable. That to 1,880. Or, you can simply i-add mo ning duha. Tapos, isa ra ka entry yung buhaton. Or niya, or. Retained earnings, dividends payable. And then, your entry would be the 22,080 and then 22,080. Okay, so you can do one entry or you can do two separate entries. Pero mas okay gining iisa na guys. Okay, pero if you mo na move mo mong entry, okay ra ko ana. Okay? Sige, what else? Sige, on the date of record. So again, no entry. On the date of payment na dayon, cash man, di ba? So, pila tanan imuhang dividends payable gali? That is 2,200 plus 1,880. That's 22,080. That means nakuhaan imong tanan dividends payable. Ay, pwede na imong isa-isahon na po. Sige, ato isa-isahon na po. Dividends payable, 2,200 and then cash. 20,200. Kaya nawala naman yung utang, imong gibayaran imong utang. So, imo nang gibayad sa ila tanan. Kaya again, this is on the date of payment. 1,880. Or you can mag-order po ta diri. Or you can do this kay which kay isa maura magyapon ang resulta 22,080 and then cash na 22,080. So this is on the date of declaration, date of record, and then date of payment. Okay? Sige. So, nakapabailain. Let me see. Wait lang. Okay. What else? Okay. Sige. Let me see kung naa pa ba. Okay. So, by the way, preference shares, kani guys ha, dili na nako ni siya ikon, i-introduce lang nako sa inyo ha. Preference shares as to participation in preference shares nga participation or preference shares nga preference in profits, preference in dividends can either be cumulative or participating. But I will no longer show you this participating. I will no longer show you this one. All I want is for you na makabalumon sa pag-entry kung kanang mag dividend sharing na ay kung nanay ay kung lagi ko mag dividends distribution na siya. Okay? Sige, what else? Okay, so with that, we're done with our discussion on corporation operations and retained earnings. Okay? So with that, sorry kayo guys if you feel like this is so short, but all I want kasi is to give you the kanang pahapyaw nga knowledge on corporation, on how the entries kanang are made. Kaya para po, if ever that you would encounter such entries in your future endeavors, dili na kayo ma-shock. Okay? So with that, we're done with our discussion for your whole semester. I hope that you have learned something from me, and I hope na kanang if malimtan man ninyo or whatever, at least man lang no. I hope that you can answer our quizzes and our finals. Okay, but I really hope that you would bring this to you all throughout your life. So again, thank you guys for listening. Please prepare for the assignment and the post test as we have agreed. I'll be giving you the details on when it will be given. Okay. So again, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.